peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is. It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader, probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers, do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa. The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
Much for joining us. Indeed, you're tuned into Punchline Africa TV, the program People's Court. This evening, we are looking onto this very critical and pertinent question here in Africa. Does political perception create conflict in African politics? That is what we are asking you this evening, and we'll truly appreciate to get your feedback. Engage with us through our social media platforms. Facebook is Punchline Africa TV. Instagram is Punchline Africa. Twitter account is Punchline Africa. Also, you can reach us directly on our Twitter account at Samuel_Tawish, at Masanga Doctor. Call us live. Our hotline number is +254 795 638 145. Tell us where you're watching us from and your brief comment regarding this, of course, topic we are handling this evening. In studio with me is none other than Dr. David Masanga himself. Is the founder, chairperson, Punchline Africa TV, is equally a conflict resolution expert, and no wonder this topic will not come at a better time. Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga, for joining me in studio, and of course we look forward to getting a very good input from your end. Good evening, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Tawish.
Take it over, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Tawish. Thank you, and viewers, wherever you are in Africa, where you are watching from. Remember, this topic touches all of us. Across the continent of Africa, past leaders, present leaders are bickering. Vice presidents, deputy presidents are fighting the president. The president fights the deputy. Those who succeeded, the predecessor fights the man he succeeded. You have seen these examples so in so many places. We have seen it even in Nigeria.
Yeah.
You saw Jonathan Goodluck, somebody sending people to go and break into his house to find stashed money, purportedly stashed. So there is rivalry. In Malawi, we have seen a number of the Chikwera standing against Mutharika. In South Africa itself, you have seen Zuma losing out to Ramaphosa. In Namibia, the same. In Angola, you have seen the Santos leaving power to his defense minister who takes over. But later on, squabbles begin. Fighting starts among the two or between the two. We have seen another country of a good example, South Sudan. The squabbles brought quite a lot of problems for South Sudan. Today is at war. People are killing each other in South Sudan. You have seen in Kenya, we are 3 years away from elections, but we seem to have a problem already. The deputy is not towing the line. You have seen in Tanzania, Lowassa versus Magufuli. These were people on the same. One was a prime minister and the other one was a minister. There's that rivalry. Perception. What is it that makes people fear their past and fear the present? Is perception.
Yeah.
If you have fear that you hand over power, you have seen in Uganda, the handover power is a mirage. It might never be there. You have seen in Rwanda, Kagame is always looking for his fellow opponents. His deputy commanders, they were together. Perception. The fear of people doing things together, or someone will do it better, has created what we see right now in our continent. On our continent, elsewhere, where else can I say there is a very good example? You have seen the rivalry in Mogadishu. You have seen the rivalry in Khartoum itself. Bashir was taken down by his own commanders, the ones he promoted. And another group came and said, no. Actually, it was the deputy of Bashir who ordered Bashir to be removed. He was also removed by other deputies. That perception, the politics of perception, how do we overcome it in Africa and Africa as it is? That is it.
Well, Dr. Masanga, talking about that and looking into probably history, what does history really teach us regarding all this? Because again, you will trace and look into, for example, Kenya today and see the kind of transitions that we have had ever since, of course, Kenya got independence. When we had Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, then to now retired President Moi, and then of course we go to Kibaki, and then we have President Mwai Kibaki. I mean, as in for Kenya now, we have two retired presidents who are still alive. But looking onto that history and looking onto how they have been treated ever since they left office, I mean, it really gives everyone the motivation that perhaps when it gets time for you to leave office, you'll honorably leave and you'll not have that anxiety and fear probably that there's something that's going to happen to you. There's also maybe that fear, which was, for example, in Zimbabwe, when we had Robert Mugabe, he felt maybe, I remember the last interview he had, of course, with the state on the television saying he will want maybe to rule up to 100 years or until maybe when God takes him. Unfortunately, that did not happen when we saw President Emerson Mnangagwa, of course, through that military coup taking over from him. But again, we've not seen so much of mistreatment against President, Robert Mugabe in as far as Zimbabwe is concerned. So, I mean, when you look into all these opinions are varied, and also situations could be the same in as far as maybe inheritance from the presidents who are in place today, or from those who are in office today, to those who are being handed over power. So what is it that we can do as Africa or as a continent or individual countries to ensure that we safeguard the interests of those who are in power, so that they do not feel like once they leave office, they are not insulated at all? Maybe they are going to be prone to prosecutions, or they are going to be put to jail. What is it, or the mechanisms that we can put in place, Dr. Masanga, to ensure that these people do not feel threatened in court to leave office once their term is over?
Africa needs to change. Africa needs to change the law. A former president should not carry a burden of what was there before, like a Tony Blair, like a George Bush. Americans, that's the highest type of democracy. The type of democracies that we have in America and Britain, they don't follow the former prime ministers to bring them on trial. we should bring in laws that will safeguard the departure of President Museveni. If President Museveni is leaving today, you don't need to come back and say, there is a problem with you, we want you back. We want you to go to jail. You have seen, you talked of Zimbabwe. President Mugabe is in Zimbabwe enjoying the fruits, even if he's sickly. He has not been touched. Nobody has arrested him. Nobody has brought any charges against him. The transition in Zimbabwe was smooth, very peaceful. But the perception that brought about the fight between Mugabe and Mnangagwa was a perception. Someone went, the handlers of Mugabe said, this man is going to take you down. Until it boiled to a military coup. The army who were friendly to Mugabe, to Mnangagwa, saw that this Mnangagwa was a deputy president, but was penalized. This has continued even up to today as we speak. President Mnangagwa might not be free to do certain things. Mnangagwa would have been free to make a decision. For example, Chamisa would be in government. But there's a perception created there that once you do this, this is going to be that.
Yeah.
There's that fear. Is he taking too much power? Is he taking my cake? Is he taking the limelight? So power, as they say, corrupts. And the power, absolute power, corrupts completely.
It does, yeah.
These scenarios are there in Africa. If you look at another scenario, it's the scenario of Kenya, of Zambia. When Kaunda lost an election, is there a framework for departure as you have lost an election in many African countries? Most of these African leaders who have been in power, they live like paupers. They don't have facilitation. We have forgotten all about them. And then it makes them come back.
But again, Dr. Masanga, on that very note, who is supposed to, institute these infrastructures that are going to, like you usually put it, the structural challenges that we have? Is it not, it shouldn't be something that is anchored on someone's goodwill, that maybe you're going to do this and that for a retired president or somebody who served in maybe high-ranking position in government? I suppose these are some of the things that we need to anchor them maybe in our constitutions, or to have clear structures on how this is going to be implemented. For example, when one leaves office, so that it's not actually vested on an individual's goodwill. Okay,
look at the question of Botswana. Botswana has changed the government without any bloodshed.
Yeah.
The democratic space in Botswana is in abundance. It's plenty of it. People change the governments by ballot without any bloodshed. But now, if you look at President Masisi and the former President Kama, there is a war, a very bitter war, to the extent that President Kama left his father's party as a founding father of that nation, left his party and went to be with Masisi. So perception is creating, if you, most of the deputies or most of the successors paint their predecessors with bad image. You are not hitting the point. Look at the way President Uhuru Kenyatta here has been painted.
Yeah.
I wrote this with that in my mind. The perception created, the apathy, the state of disobedience is what has created a problem. That is exactly what is happening in Kenya here.
But again, Dr. Masanga, how are you going to remedy this? Because you look into what happened, I'm coming back to Kenya, what happened in Zimbabwe, for example. There was still that perception that probably the Grace Mugabe wanted to inherit, power from the husband. Then you remember, I don't know whether that was real or it was still perception. When you come to Kenya today, it is like somehow automatic, according to maybe Deputy President William Ruto's believers or loyalists to say. They hope that maybe after President Kenyatta finishes his 2 term in office, then it is automatic that Deputy President William Ruto should come into power.
Yes.
I mean, is the perception that is not only in those actually seen in those who are in government, but it's the same also when it comes to opposition parties or opposition individuals in the continent of Africa, where you have individuals who want just to take over from those who are in leadership simply because they feel they are maybe second in command. What is your take regarding this, Dr. Masanga? Is it something that really has been treated as automatic, or is it something that maybe has to be allowed space for maybe a deliberation and maybe people to give their input as far as this is concerned?
Let me tell you very well, you have put it nicely. Even in opposition parties, look at Besigye's party in Uganda. Besigye has been a chairman, the president of that party. Mugisha Muntu was supposed to be number 2, de facto leader, number 2 of the party. He bargained for new vision, a new direction for the FDC. Until he got fed up, he went to form his own party. What causes that is the ideas. That's why in Britain they have created, once you lose any format of election, or once you lose a matter, any vote on a matter that touches national interest, you don't remain the prime minister of that country. Theresa May lost all attempts to leave EU with a package that will stop a hard border somewhere. And as a result, that's a national matter. Because when you look at Northern Ireland and Britain, you can't have a hard border there. Already you have now made Northern Ireland a state of its own. And they would want to cross over to Ireland to buy, Dublin. They don't want to pay customs. They are brothers. So like Matanga and Wetangula, we are in the same, not in the same area, the same area. If I want to come from Uganda to come to Oaxaca, I don't need a hard border. I should have a soft border. So what made Britain, the British people say, no, if we do this thing, and then EU gives a back stop, where this border will be at our back, these guys will one day demand independence. It has made Theresa May to quit. Africa, we don't have those type of people who can quit as a result of less performance. An earthquake comes, a landslide comes, it kills 200 people. If blankets were not offered by the government, the prime minister resigns.
Yeah.
He leaves. Why is it that they leave? Because there's a social structure where he's going to live, there's his benefit, it will be calculated as a former president. But in Africa, why people hang on power is what is it that you are having. You must continue to steal and have more
to survive. But again, Dr. Masanga, on that very note, I mean, I asked this question and you didn't quite come out categorically in your response. I mean, whose authority is it to ensure that we institute this structural, the structures that we are talking about, to ensure that, for example, you have these benefits if you are retiring from office? Is it not the people who are in power today, or the people who are in power who are supposed to initiate these policies and maybe these laws to ensure that they are anchored in the Constitution? So, I mean, it directly falls on them.
For example, in Kenya, why you have had a smooth transition of power, despite a few fights here and there, you have now got structures that look after the former vice president. And I've seen several people here on public rallies, when they address Mudavadi, they don't say the former vice president. Mudavadi was a former vice president. But someone has created a perception that this Mudavadi, he was only there for a few days. He was sworn in by the Constitution of the Constitution of Republic of Kenya by then.
Sure.
Mudavadi is a former vice president on equal terms, equal footing like Kalonzo
And Mudi Awori.
and Mudi Awori. You must give them the same money, the same funding, the same security, the same motorcade, the same workers, the same PAs. They must look at them like former vice presidents. So what makes people in Africa disagree is we have a person who, like, let's be honest, come home because we have wandered too much.
Yeah.
Let's bring them the issue here home on the table. Today we have two factions, warring factions within the Jubilee Party, and they are seen. It's not a lie. They are seen. One is shouting, another one is shouting. They have created a perception. Someone has created a perception, a belittlement of the current status. Among the two factions, it should be one faction called the one of the deputy president should keep quiet. Because the respect must come from you. If your workers are saying they are killing other people's cows, you are the one supposed to come in and say, no, please stop killing these cows. Stop talking about politics. I came here to open up a hospital. I came here to open up a road. I came here to inaugurate vaccination center, a deep center. Can you keep quiet today? And we do only development, fundraise development, and leave this church without any discussion or politics. That will enhance, will change the perception, a strategy that you can see against, which goes against President Uhuru Kenyatta. You weaken the incumbent's ability to perform, for him to be able to execute the mandate in the 3 years or 38 months left. 3 years and 2 months left to the end of his term of office. His mandate is being curtailed by his deputy having a full-blown up campaign strategy roadmap rolled. It is not a joke. It causes a conflict. At the end of the day, don't you see where we are heading in Kenya?
Yeah.
We are almost heading there. We are coming back. We are almost coming back. We are almost there. We go in, we come back. We talk very nicely about healthcare facilities, food security, industrialization, infrastructure, housing. When we are actually inaugurating this, we talk so nicely. But guess what? As soon as we leave that function, whom do we become?
Well, Dr. Masanga, but on that very note, maybe in your own opinion, what do you suppose is the motivation behind this internal coup within the ruling Jubilee party, especially as it has been championed by those loyal to Deputy President William Ruto? What is really motivating this internal coup?
There are several factors. The space has narrowed. Humanity has it that Tawish, when the space narrows, you also need to widen it.
We just all for the space.
Yes. 2013 to 2017, the deputy president had space, had fingers tip on the president. Today, it doesn't have the fingers on. The space has narrowed. That's a fact for you.
He was basically playing football in an unmarked field.
An unmarked field, and he could score and then score himself, and then even turn the ball to go towards his own office without any questioning. Today, there are people questioning. There are many people asking, why? When the question is why come in, there's bound to be, this is it. The answers are always, yes, we are doing it. Mm-hmm. Yes, it looks that you are about to stop us from doing. Another factor that brought about the jostling here, which has made the president's perception, which the people must look at in the future, because the president's perception, to perceive the president as in bad light, is Machiavellian type of politics. I think you wanted me to speak about the Machiavellian type of politics, where we talk about Sicily is in a bad shape, but you are thinking about going to pray with Pope in Rome. Yet Rome is already safeguarded. 2022 is safeguarded for you. If you work in Sicily, you put out and support the president, popularize the name of the president, popularize the name of all the projects that the
build
president
on the
has
legacy.
done.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the legacy. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the legacy. Utilize the legacy. Make sure that people abruptly visit hospitals and ask why the president told us that this is what should be done. Why is this man not doing this? If you are doing this in the name of the president, by 2022, you will be elected by 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. That's it. You don't need even to campaign much, because the reserve service delivered. But here we are, the Siguta Valley, the Capedo Triangle. If you look at the people making most noise, nobody can explain to me why a child in Capedo Triangle in the Siguta Valley of Baringo cannot sleep at the mother's house or the father's house, and they are sleeping in a school. This is 21st century, and these politicians from the Rift Valley are making the highest noise ever possible. Who is this in the Siguta Valley, for example? Who is this in Capedo Triangle? Who has made it a Machiavellian politics? Mm-hmm. Who is instigating that type of conspiracy to destroy the government of Uhuru Kenyatta by showing pictures that we saw on Citizen TV, where children are actually not, my God, mm-hmm. where a woman had actually planted his place, he was ready to get his money, his cows were taken. Where people during that time, they have to go to hide at school because bandits roam during that time. And we have the latest helicopters, police helicopters, we have the latest equipment. This is sabotage. Perception is linked to sabotage. If you look for the word perception, mm-hmm. you will get sabotage somewhere.
Dr. Masago, you've brought in that aspect of sabotage. Then I would like to get from you, moving forward, now that the president is expressly maybe displeasured by what is happening, of course, looking into the politics, and those who do not want to toe the line, do not want to support his agenda for the country, the unity, the Building Bridges initiative, the handshake, fight against corruption, and more so the big reform agenda. The president still has powers as bestowed to him by the Kenyan constitution, and now that he feels maybe things are not going the right direction, what do you suppose he should then do?
The Constitution of the Republic of Kenya does not specify the actions of the president against, especially against the deputy president. We are in a limbo there. He can't sack the deputy president.
Sure.
He's in a cul-de-sac. The wall is heavy to penetrate. But the people of Kenya, having seen what is going on, can sit down and say, hello, where are we heading? We have 3 years and 2 months. Mm-hmm. 38 months left. Those are 3 years and 2 months. What do we do about the legacy? We cannot continue bickering like this. The other alternative is for people to respect the president. The respect for the president should not only be by proclamations, by deeds. Nobody is respecting the president at the moment.
But these calls have been made time and again, Dr. Masanga. No one really seems to listen. I mean, President Kenyatta himself has come out expressly and said we need to look into how we are uniting the country. We need to reciprocate by actually attending to the pledges we made to the people when we went to the election. I mean, it's not time to politic around or surrounding 2022 general election, but no one really seems to listen, especially those who are allied to Deputy President William Ruto. So how can this really be forced onto these particular people who have seemingly decided really that that is the route for them?
Tawish, when a madman drums in the village and when you dance to his music, don't people also conclude you are mad?
They do.
Yes. If you are dancing to the music of a madman from his drum, the people will think you are also mad. Because the madman doesn't know rhythm. He plays a mixture. There is no rhythm at all. The scenario we see in Kenya today is more or less brought about by that madness. There's somewhere where the center cannot hold. And what has brought the center not to hold? Corruption. You touch me, I'll touch you. There's that thing there now. That's attitude. That if you touch me, I'll also touch you. If I touch Tawish, the entire Maasai, the Maasai, are they called the Maasai?
The Ma community.
The Ma community will come and say, no, we can't accept that. Another complication in Kenya is the politics of the handshake, which is very, very crucial, very important for this country to unite. The politics of a handshake has been converted into a nightmare politics. That people ask questions. What was this that was handshaked? Was it cushioned? What cushions were used? I hope you are picking me there.
I'm getting Dr. Masanga. But I don't know really where the perception is coming in from these other people or from this other quarter, because the two people who participated in this handshake, I mean President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, have come out more than once to say exactly what was the intention of the handshake, what is intended to achieve. I don't know why anyone in his right mind will really read outside this bracket from the two leaders. I don't know, is it more of like they feel it is more of the succession politics to 2022, much as the two leaders have come out and said it has nothing to do with politics, and particularly regarding the 2022 succession politics?
When you hide, have you ever seen a snake hiding when it is outside? The snake only hides in a hole. Have you ever seen it hide? Tell me. You have seen a snake before?
Yes.
What does it do when it is outside?
It wanders.
And does what?
A bit tricky there, Dr. Masanga.
A snake hides in the hole, but it doesn't hide outside. Yet there are more enemies outside than in the hole. Why?
Maybe it's up to the viewer to tell us.
Viewers, that is the one thing that Trawish today cannot explain, and I will explain to him.
Yeah.
A snake is more comfortable in the hole, but it decides to go out to fight.
Yeah.
It goes where the enemies are.
Yeah.
Have you ever found a snake sleeping in a tree? No. Have you?
No.
Where do they sleep?
I suppose inside the holes.
Where do they go? The snake sleeps in a hole.
Yeah.
There's no snake that sleeps in the grass. You only find a snake in the grass during daytime. Isn't it? Have you ever found it in the hole? So guess for yourself. Who is in the hole and who is outside the grass, who wants to fight, who wants to say, then you can bring the Kenyan scenario together and find your answers. Who is in the hole?
What a parable.
There was nobody who knows what was in the handshake. That is the trouble which is creating the snake to come out to say.
Except for the two leaders.
Now you are coming. The snake is just passing by. Inagonga the tail here. Ione nani anangusa. Iko muta anangusa. The snake will never bite you unless there is a movement. Am I right?
You're right.
We have been soldiers. When that green a snake could even move. It passes. It can pass here and go. But the moment it moves on you and you do like this, it strikes you. So look at the politics of 2022. President Uhuru Kenyatta has kept quiet. He's gone back to the hall. He has left people to look for trouble. When the time comes, he comes out of the hall. He warned you in Nyeri that you'll be shocked.
There'll be a shocker.
So if I were you, if I were one of the contestants, I would read the mood and support the perception, create a better perception for His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Dr. Masala, I want to...
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Now the snake, you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Uhuru gone back to the snake, to the hole. People are complaining. Why is he not doing this? You have just complained here.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that. He's allowed the snake to go out to look for trouble. If you find somebody out there who can hammer the head, it's up to you. But if you stay inside, help the snake in the hole, widen the hole so that two of you can stay amicably by doing action, supporting the bigger snake that is going to go out tomorrow and help you. That's it.
Dr. Masanga, as far as that
have I brought chaos here?
I mean, you've quite explicitly put it, because I was not really getting it in the first place.
Now you have got it.
With that explanation, I think message is...
Thank you very much.
Again, so Dr. Masanga, I mean, from where you sit, do you suppose maybe things have changed within the ruling Jubilee coalition in as far as maybe the perceived succession 2022 politics is concerned? Because again, I've never heard, ever since, of course, President Kenyatta was re-elected for a second term, him coming out and saying he's not going maybe to support Deputy President William Ruto, if that is the case, if that is what is brewing all this, I mean, controversy and animosity within the Jubilee Party. I've not seen, I mean, even the other people within the Jubilee Party itself, the file and rank of the Jubilee Party, say they have changed the position as far as the 2022 succession politics is concerned. So where exactly this problem coming from?
The problem coming from perception. I'm perceived. I'm perceived. If I'm perceived to be a wizard, I have to try to convince people that I'm not a wizard. And in the process of convincing people, I make errors. Someone will even ask me, tell us that you don't take off your shirt. Tell us you don't walk naked at night. Tell us. Isn't it a scenario happening here today?
Sure.
Thank you. Perception. Perception. Perception is very important in political science. That if you are perceived, and that is the winner, the ticket winner of 2022. If you are perceived, and that should there be another snake that is going out there looking for a strike, and you have gone there early, you might be tired as a snake. By the time you come to the hall to seek more that help me, someone wanted to beat me out there, you will not find solace.
Let me just read one of the comments here. Yeah, there's one viewer here who has actually responded as regards to your
snake
parable. He's saying, of course, a snake stay in the hall when it is hot, but out when it is cold to strike man. Eat your word, you man. He says it comes out when it is hot. When it's cold, it comes. A snake stays in the hall when it is hot, but comes out when it is cold to strike.
What have I said? Exactly. Where it is hot inside, it is safety.
Yeah.
When you are inside, look. When you are inside, you are covered. Today in Kenyan politics, who is covered? Who has a blanket? No, who has a blanket? Who has a blanket? Mention.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Yes.
Number 2 has a blanket on the platform already. If I have a blanket already, why do I panic? There is heat inside. You don't need to go and look for cold. That cold can create you more problems. But by the time you run back to the hall is closed. Because you left it and went out. This hall was closed.
Yeah.
Put it practically here.
Yeah.
It's going to happen here. There could come another new snake that is also having problems or a lot of heat inside the hall somewhere. And it can come like a jokingly like that. It strikes. It can find this hall when it's empty, it enters. Because President Uhuru Kenyatta has said, please, 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 stay in the hall.
It is safer there.
It is safer. There is no way you can deal a kingpin politics in this country. There is no way. There must, in political science in Kenya, there is always a kingpin. So if you don't have a kingpin and you are using pins, kingpin, and you are using needle, obutono, ebikwasu, obupini obutono. I am saying small pins.
Yeah.
You need a kingpin. The man who will say hello, they say yes, hello, hello. Yes, you need. Look at what happened in the politics of Nigeria. Anybody that Buhari endorsed, they fraudulently got it.
However much there's the perception that there's dislike for
you are talking now. Why did Obasanjo and Buhari win the other election? They endorsed Buhari. There was a kingpin. Who was the kingpin? Obasanjo, not Buhari. And why Buhari has trouble today is he has lost the support of Obasanjo. In Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, the kingpin was President Kabila. And he said, we shall win most seats, you just win 5 million votes.
For the presidency.
And I will give it to you. You need somebody, boss. You need somebody. Don't spoil the bridge. You need to use it. Because if you attack, you create a bad perception against the president. Tell people to insult him, belittle him, bring his name, besmirch, prostitute his name, label his name, bring the character into disrepute. That is the danger of your hall being blocked.
So the question of, the question of godfathers is still actively actually engaged in as far as our politics is concerned today in Africa, Dr. Masanga?
It is indeed what happened in the United States of America. President Bush Sr. went to Somalia, hit Siad Barre, Aidid, and others.
Yes.
Hit very many people, destroyed Iraq, Afghanistan, and the President Bush Sr. said the only way to do it, is, you know, guess what? To put, if I don't put my money here, this will haunt me. So let me put him here to finish whatever mistakes I had made. A kingpin, a godfather. The election of that year almost became Harambe. Harambe. Until it went, the state of Ohio determined the election of America. They went to the Supreme Court, and guess what, my brother? The Supreme Court had to rule. If it was in Africa, they said they bribed the judges to rule in favor of George Bush Jr. And he maintained his legacy. Because if Al Gore had come to power, the war in Iraq would have not taken place. Several things would have come in light for questioning, for Mr. Bush to be questioned. Why did you do this without the consent? Why did you do this? So he had to cover a legacy. Godfathers are needed in political science. There is no way. We want to wish you sleep. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I don't know where you are watching from. Even if it is America, it can't be 2 a.m. It must be Australia. Maybe Australia 2 a.m. For us here, we are only going to sleep in another 1 hour or so. Some people will start their sleep. But thank you very much for watching and listening to us. We are still here, and it looks like we are going to wait for some news from State House.
Well, Dr. Masanga, just before maybe we get into that, my very last question on this other topic, on what we have been handling this evening. I mean, do you suppose in Africa today our victories are rather definitive? Are they really definitive to a point that, because you see, when we are going into an election, we seem like we are reading from the same script. We seem like we have that vision for the people. We seem like this is the agenda we want to actually implement once we get into power. But you see, after the election, and most of those who win the election, you'll normally see that there are a lot of fragmentation. People begin to jostle again for the next election. my question is, Dr. Masanga, our victory is really definitive. A case in point is, for example, South Sudan, where we had, of course, a referendum to break away from Sudan. You saw what happened. I mean, we've never had peace in South Sudan. The Sudan itself today, as we speak, I mean, they were very excited to remove President Omar al-Bashir from power. But to date, they have never found that peace which they have been yearning for, or even the kind of government that the civilian Protestants have been looking for. I mean, the examples are so many, Dr. Masanga, when you move around the continent of Africa. So my question is, our victory is really definitive that after we win the election, this is what we want to do for the people. Because what we see many a times are only but divisions, people who want now to read from the different scripts, and most of those who want to inherit these positions, I mean, they go counter the promises they made when they were campaigning for this office.
It all comes to lack of ideology. We don't have ideology in Africa. That one is linked with bad perception. If you have a party like ANC, when they see the leader is going to make mistakes, they recall him. In Africa, East Africa, we don't have such a party. There's nobody in East Africa who can recall a president. Can you recall Kagame? Who are you? It's a personal party. Can you recall Museveni? Who are you? It's a personal party. Can you recall Uhuru Kenyatta, for example, now? No. We have no provisions for recalling presidents. Because there's no, you call him to go and do what? You take him to what? What basis of structure are there that you tell him to sit down? What has he done wrong? Because you see, there are so many things in Africa where things are done wrongly, but you can't pin it down someone. Can you? For example, the shortage of water in any place can make a minister of water and the mineral resources to resign. In any country which has democracy, fragile, not fragile, very fluid, tough. They check you even on the shoes. If you have worn a red shoe and a black shoe, this one red shirt, you can lose your post because you are not supposed to display that type of ignorance. As a leader, you must wear the good shoes, the brown or black at both legs. Yes.
Okay, very well, Dr. Masanga. Let me just go through some of these comments. There are so many. Of course, the viewer who was saying that he or she, I'm not very sure if it's a man or a lady, saying that he wants to go and sleep, is from Sydney, Australia. Indeed, confirming to what you are just saying.
Mr. Clovis, but Sadaraka has told us it is 2:22 a.m. in Sydney, which is
Sydney, Australia.
Yes.
Okay, we have Galdino Sebit who says the sacking of Dr. Riek Machar, let me just, created the beginning of what precipitated to the current civil war in South Sudan. Today, constitutional processes were ignored, which could have resolved political issues of the time. And then we have Munir, of course, who says, I think Uhuru Kenyatta is trying his best for my Kenyan brothers, though critics are taking over like what you are saying over there. Ellen Lucci says, Africa needs help. Wicked politicians all over the place. Today, that is Abraham Nweke says, today is Nigeria appointment day for lawyers, almost 27 people. They appointed none from Southeast religion people. And then we have, I need a minute, please. Africa just embarrassing. And then another one here says, good morning, Punchline Africa TV. It's evening over here in East Africa. Thank you so much for watching. Derek says, Biafra is the cure of Africa and beyond. We will unite our people and treat everyone equally before the law, then push forward if need be. We must compete, not depend on West to survive. Very pertinent point over there. Live just, that is the cure. Non-corruption nation, live in peace, live in peace rather, and fear of nothing. Evil brings fear. I can give my account of Nigeria experience if ever needed. Quite interesting one, maybe. Thank you so much for sharing in your views and making in your comments, Dr. Masanga.
Don't forget Dr. Sylvester Tijinjogo, my doctor friend from Tanzania, has summarized it.
Yes.
Didn't I tell you? You asked me a cardinal last question. What did I tell you? Ideology.
we are not bound by the ideology, or it's not even there.
It's not there. The ideology in Tanzania is that they love CCM. When CCM talks in Tanzania, there is earthquake. There is trauma. The local chief will say, chama kilisema. Chama kilisema. Therefore, in Tanzania, you can create a perception, a bad perception against Magufuli. But the party, as long as the party has not has confidence in Magufuli, you are wasting your time, because the party has the ideology. Here we don't have ideology. We have outfit skirts of parties. You wear them today. Tell me how many people have gone to this Jubilee headquarters. There used to be journalists there every second. Yourself, you were there.
Sure.
Where are they there? They are not there.
It's deserted.
They have deserted that party. Cats and other animals might be sleeping there instead of human beings coming by to see whether there is anything that they can write. How many of these politicians have gone back to their branches in their counties? By now, Jubilee Party should have at least 20 to 30 offices opened and created in their counties. Am I wrong?
You're right.
We don't have a single office in each county. We don't. So how are you going to say you are going to stand in 2022? Over what? Over a skirt or blouse?
You've brought in the question of ideology, Dr. Masanga, and I remember just before I came into the show, I was just doing a bit of some research and looking into the politics around our continent, and I managed to actually have sight on Uganda and why President Yoweri Museveni has made it this far, despite some level of criticism against his leadership style. There's this one aspect I just wanted to get your response on, talking about the Bona Bagagawale. I don't know if it is
Bonabagagawale.
Bonabagagawale. You know,
yes, all get rich.
Yeah, I can't quite pronounce it well like you putting it, Dr. Masanga.
But all get rich.
All get rich. Yes. I mean, there's a policy of giving about 20 million Ugandan Kenya shillings to every household to alleviate hunger. Yes. But again, at some point we've been seeing opposition laughing at President Yoweri Museveni, but not giving really the alternative to what President is giving. And so the people of Uganda seem like they would rather go for somebody who is giving them hope rather than
microfinance.
Yeah, rather than
microfinance.
Despair, yeah.
Name organization Bonabagagawale.
Yes.
Everybody gets rich. Yes. Peasants, you cannot win an election in Uganda when Museveni is still alive.
Let alone when he's still in office.
Alive. You wanted the truth. And that's why some people don't want to listen to the truth. It is impossible to win an election in Uganda when Museveni is alive. It is going to be impossible.
Really?
34 years is a class of its own. The boys who were born in 1986 are 34 years old today. They are the bankers, they are the men, the high flyer generals, they are the army, the cadres of all the intelligence systems. They don't know anybody called Masanga. Yeah. They don't know anybody. They read history about Masanga and the rest and Obote. He has a class. Museveni has a voting bloc. That's the truth. There's a voting bloc in Uganda. So until this voting bloc turns itself into a constructive criticism of the current system, is when you can win an election in Uganda.
Very well, Dr. Masanga. I mean, time will tell that. We'll see how that is going to pan out. But again, let me just read one more comment, very important comment here from Munir, who says, I'm from South Sudan, but only believe the United Africa. That is my vision. I mean, one Africa, or the United States of Africa. We'll want to see how that vision is going to come to reality. I want to thank you so much, Dr. David Masanga, for taking your time and, of course, making that pertinent contribution to this program this evening. And to you, our viewer, for tuning in and, of course, sending in your comments. We truly appreciate For now, though, I think that is where we wind up. Remember to continue watching Punchline
There was
Africa
this State
TV.
House.
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, I think it was just an update about regarding that young man who was shot by the police who was trying to actually make his way to State House. But of course, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has taken over the matter. They are carrying out investigation to ascertain what could have maybe prompted this young man to want to make his way to State House. So it's something that we will keep our audience, of course, updated as and when we get detail of that. Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga, the viewer, for tuning in and sending in your comments. I've been your host, Samuel Tawish. And of course, remember to continue watching Punchline Africa TV tomorrow. Good Morning Africa. Dr. David Masanga himself and Miriam Ogutu will be coming in live. Good night. God bless. Bye-bye.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.